Hey class, I hope everybody's doing well. I was planning on making another video. If you remember my last video, I talked about Easter and how Easter was related to First Communion. We know that Jesus rose from the dead and came back to live actually again in his human body back on earth, and now he's present with us in that same body, in the same blood, as we see it in the Eucharist. It looks like bread and wine, but it's actually become Jesus' body and blood. So Easter, obviously, big deal with that. I want to talk about another big event that came before Easter, and this is what we call the Last Supper. So the Thursday before Jesus died and rose from the dead, he had one big meal with his 12 apostles. And at that meal, he took bread and he said, "This is my body. Eat this. It's truly my body." And at that moment, that bread, Jesus wasn't joking, he said it. Jesus is God, he can do this. That bread became his body. And he took a cup of wine and he said the same thing. "This is my blood. Drink this." And he meant it. And at that moment, the wine turned into his blood. So at that moment, we had the first communion ever, as at the Last Supper. But what Jesus said was very important. He said, "Do this in memory of me." Not just do it this one time or do this as some sort of fun thing or a symbol or something. He really wanted that everyone after the apostles at this moment continued to receive the body and blood of himself. So we have all this coming from the beginning at the Last Supper. And since then, all the apostles, as they made priests in the future, today the apostles are just the bishops of the church today and the priests. They still carry out this command that Jesus gave them to do this in memory of him. And they reenact, in a way, the Last Supper at every single Mass. So again, we see that in First Communion. As we're getting prepared to receive the body and blood, we're doing this in memory of Jesus. Jesus wants us to do this, and in fact told us to. And it's not just a symbol. He said it, and at that moment it became his body and blood. The bread and wine changed forms. In the church, ever since the beginning, the apostles started it. After Jesus came and after he went, they began to eat meals like this. And they began to allow Jesus to come in and make that bread and wine actually his body and blood. The church has been doing it for 2,000 years. Can you believe that? And the church is going to keep doing it. We're going to keep having these meals, right? This Last Supper. But that's what the Mass is now. At that moment, we join in with Jesus and we receive his body and blood in the form of bread and wine, as he did that first time right before he died and rose for us. So without Holy Thursday, without the Last Supper, we wouldn't really know what to do. We wouldn't be able to have Jesus so present as we do now. So I think it's a good thing to keep in mind as we're still kind of working through the Easter season. It's a whole long season we're still celebrating. But we know that the Last Supper, Jesus really first gave him himself to be with in food and drink form. And he still does it today, 2,000 years later, through the same kind of apostles that live on today. So without that, man, can you imagine? So it's a blessing we have that, and I just hope you guys are still thinking about what it means to receive First Communion. I'm praying for all of you, and I'm excited for when the day comes where we can actually go back to church and receive Jesus' body and blood, especially you guys for the first time. It's a very big deal, and again, you're just like the apostles who were able to see and be with Jesus in that way. So I hope it's an exciting time. I hope you guys are doing well. Stay safe, stay healthy, be good to your parents, and hopefully I'll be able to see y'all soon. Okay, bye.